time for a couple questions? Because otherwise, I won't know what your front end is. So you guys know I've been teaching this stuff for 33 years, and here's how far we've come. My mother says, you're gonna stop dyeing your hair. Don't you know that society doesn't listen to old people? And I said, Mom, I think that may have changed, and I'm not putting toxins on my hair just so they'll be listened to. I'm also president, as you heard, of this U.S. partnership. I also forgot to put on here, I also teach corporate and campus sustainability at University of Vermont. I've been doing that for about 5 years. At the American Association of Community Colleges, I run the technical advisory groups, which many of you are on the advisory panels for, where we download information on curricula and competencies and standards and community partnerships and funding and policy in the areas related to sustainability, so that community colleges and others who want to visit, because it's open, can take those materials and put them in their programs. I also run their Community to Grow Green Jobs through policy and civic engagement. And then I also am the U.S. delegate to the World Federation of Colleges and Polytechnics and their Sustainability Affinity Group. So just a little piece on what OCC has been doing. So we've had degrees and certificates for 33 years. We're in Metro Detroit, so I get a lot of engineers in my program. I get a lot of multi-million-dollar project managers as my students, and then also the kid who just got out of Detroit Public Schools. So it's definitely a community of learners, and we all help each other to grow and learn. They've had lots of different careers that have come out of this, and those are just a taste of the kinds of jobs that come out of, that my students go into. So we got a U.S. Department of Labor grant, and what we did was built a portable demonstration center, because you keep hearing about how we have to educate the public. So we take this thing to places where the public is, and then we show them how solar thermal, solar hot water, solar space heating, solar electricity, wind, energy efficiency, and other technologies work. And there's something that happens when you make them popcorn and smoothies all from solar electricity, and that they go, oh my gosh, it really works. And so there's a little quiz on the inside. We also have created these videos, and so I wanted to put this up there. You can use these videos. They were done professionally, and they talk about green jobs. They also talk about getting involved in policy, as well as other aspects of renewable energy. So that's opencc.edu/EST. The other thing we do is we reach out to, let me go back for a second. So I wanted to mention that we started out teaching renewable energies, energy efficiency, and conservation. And now we also teach sustainable products and processes. You know, we've got a lot of new product development. We got a lot of manufacturing and design shops in our town. So we get a lot of folks who come in and they're looking at all sorts of different products and how to make them sustainably. And we also look at cultural and systemic change. How are you going to make those changes? As I mentioned in the last section, not just sitting around and talking about them. So that gets into work on self-concept. I've also taught psychology for 18 years, and a lot of that work is integrated in to make my work in this field more effective. So we also reach out to businesses. So this was an event that we had, and you'll see if you put those co-sponsors at the bottom. Those are the Chambers of Commerce. That's the Plumbers Association, the Mechanical Contractors, the Remodelers Association. They co-sponsor our events. All that means is that they co-market it out to their group. I asked them to do it 3 times so people will come. And then we'll get, in this case, it was over 100 businesses where we showed them how to increase their profits, grow their business by going green and sustainable. And then they take our students on for projects, maybe for interns, also for jobs. So we're growing the green economy. We're not waiting for it to happen. And I think that we are privileged to be professors at higher ed institutions, and that if we aren't doing that, we're really missing the boat. So I'm also on staff at the American Association of Community Colleges and their seed center, as I mentioned, and it's got 470 college presidents who've signed on, and we have this sharing committee, and we have this resource center, and the resource center is in these areas. I told you that it was curriculum and competencies and partnerships, etc. But what it's in the are in the areas of solar and wind and energy efficiency, green building, clean tech, food and land, fuels, sustainability in general. And then we have other pieces that give conceptual frameworks for administration and faculty on how they can get out of one of the traditional modes of being a faculty person or administrator, which aren't going to get us to a sustainable future and get into different new modes that are going to make for more success for their college and for their communities. So one of the things we found, community colleges are doing so much. I mean, Stephen, I have been working with iGen since it started, I think, right? And you said new things that I didn't even know. It's amazing what you guys are doing. And we're doing so much, but we still don't have the great economy that we need to have. There were some key policies that went down the toilet when we had the implosion of the mortgage economy and life pace. And so we don't have it set up yet where you can all get net positive cash flows. Money in your pocket from the first month to butterize your home and make it go renewables. That was what was structured when all that money got pushed out to community colleges to grow the great workforce. And because we don't have that massive amount of job growth that we thought we were going to have, we have gotten involved in policy. So through AACC, we have this action committee to grow green jobs through policy and civic engagement. And there's already learning activities posted up there. Alessandra, raise your hand, helps us to, are you supposed to, am I allowed to say this out loud? She does stuff for us all the time, and I don't know what, anyway, she's working on this and a bunch of other projects, and thank you to all of
After
your
hours, it's okay.
And then, I thought there were going to be 4 years in here. How many years from 4-year institutions? Right, so I want to talk about technology transfer and possible roles for community colleges that you may not have thought of. We are a credible source to help educate the consumer. So we build market demand for your technology that you're transferring out. Secondly, we already have relationships with many of the businesses that would carry or sell your product. And so it doesn't matter if you get some startup to take it on. If they can't get the local supply houses to use it and the consumers to buy it, this thing's not going anywhere. And we have access to free media. We have access to these partners who need to carry their products, so use us for that. And then we have a lot of institutions that have put sustainability throughout the curriculum with real world problem solving. So we have lots of models. Imagine projects in humanities, computer science, and social networking classes that help make your technology transfer product popular. Imagine projects in business courses that build the wholesale and retail business models and do the marketing and more. So just a couple of other things. Through NCSE, we started a group called, a small group of us started a group called the U.S. Partnership for Education for Sustainable Development. It's had 400 partner organizations sign on. We have sector teams. And our focus has really been in higher ed, although a lot in K-12 too. So we have all sorts of resources, and we've started a couple of networks I want to make sure you knew about. One is the Disciplinary Associations Network for Sustainability. It has 30 academic disciplinary societies. Where do the faculty go? They go to their disciplinary societies. So we brought those folks in and collected resources and helped them create resources on how to infuse sustainability into the social sciences, into the humanities, into the natural sciences, into the tech trades. And we also have workshops for faculty and staff on how to do this at individual institutions, and lots of stories about how institutions are doing it. Strategies to engage more faculty and students and staff in this kind of work, because if you're doing real world problem solving, you need to have the campus as a living lab and the community as a living lab. We have those strategies and lots of free curricular resources. This is one of our projects out of DANS. We joined with PCAL at AACNU and this other group, Mobilizing STEM for a Sustainable Future. And you can use this site, Sustainability Improves Student Learning. It has a great beginner's toolkit for a faculty member who's never done sustainability before in their courses, and it explains to them from their perspective why they would even consider doing this. So you get that mainstream or faculty person who's really like hands off from me on this, and you can show them in the beginner's toolkit why they might consider bringing sustainability in their classroom and ways to do it. That's been great. And we also have key components of sustainability assignments and empowering students, and lots of other resources here. It includes hundreds of learning activities made by people in different disciplines. So, am I frozen? There we go. Okay. So this is the societies we work with on the SIZZLE project, Sustainability Improves Student Learning. We have access through these societies to over 400,000 faculty around the country. Once again, systemic change, right? And in the U.S. partnership, one of the things we do, and many of you have done it with us, is we call the heads of national organizations. We say you are in a unique and important position to help create a sustainable future. We can't imagine doing this without you. We can be a meeting, they come, we help them start their sustainability initiatives, and so this is just one of them. Then the other network we have is the Higher Education Association Sustainability Consortium. It is made up of the presidential associations for state colleges and universities, so you get the presidents and the chief academic officers. For state colleges and universities, independent colleges and universities, and community colleges, so that's almost all the community colleges and universities. And we have a fellows program. Our strategic direction has been using the campus and the community as a living lab for sustainability. We have this thing I mentioned in the other room, a listing of job sites, 62 job sites. We have, our fellows just finished a paper on how do you get dollars, fundraising efforts out of your advancement office for your programs. And then we also have a paper on community partnerships, key component of sustainability, and AACC, I should mention, has also done a manual on using the campus as a living lab. And so if you want more information on any of those things, that's my email. I just want to honor all the good work. It truly has been a transformation in higher education. We've got, it's Hillsborough, right? Yeah, you were one of our awardees from AACC, which is great. And of course, iGen Network. And so I look forward to any questions you have. I don't know if we have time for one question. Any questions? Was that useful to you to get that information? Thanks. I'll listen to part of this.
Okay. Well, every time I hear Deb speak, I'm exhausted, so I'm just going to sit down.
Yeah, right.
I have a 2-year degree program at Lane Community College out in Eugene, Oregon. It's been around since 1980, so we have almost, well, I guess we have as many years as Deb has under her belt. I came to the program in '92, so it had started earlier than when I got here. So we are a career technical program, so I missed the organizational discussion with Greg held to kind of get this panel together. So I'm just going to do an overview of our program. Our program is, as I said, career technical, and so we don't necessarily look at transferring to a 4-year institution by our students. Our students are 2 years, beginning from 0 to employment after a 2-year period of time. Okay, so just if you came to hear us talk about transferring to your 4-year institutions, you might probably have been here. This is who we are, the Northwest Water and Energy Education Institute. We're a full 2-year degree granting program, as traditional and vanilla as any other 2-year degree career technical programs you would find in a community college. Except for one thing. You can see down here we have a mission statement. I don't know any other, no, I'm sorry, it is a mission statement. It's out of our business plan. And I don't know many other programs that develop a business plan as an operational format. But in 1998, we were eliminated from the college's general fund. And so we had to become instantly entrepreneurial. My president, who was the vice president of instruction at that time, allowed us, as she was ushering me out the door with my pink slip, said that after I asked her the question, if we could return with our own funding, would that be possible? You know, a quick back of the napkin calculation showed no money out, money in. Sure, why not? And so she's enabled us to stick around for a while. So we've been operating our own ability to generate resources through, we just finished a National Science Foundation ADE grant for $800,000, 3-year grant. And we do a lot of practitioner training. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So in 1998, we got an advisory committee together for more of the business sector. Had some bankers, had some utility folks, had some people who could really guide us in developing a business as a two-year degree program. And I realize those are hard to put together. But that's who we are and what we do. This is our program. We have our foundation program that started in 1980. Closed down in 1988 because of national politics from the end of Carter's era, which is why our program started. Through the Reagan-Bush era, those national politics or policies affected our labor market. And as an ethical program, the guy that was running it at the time, because there wasn't a place for students to go at the end of the 2 years, said, I'm not going to do this any longer because our job output is not, our outcome is not really that healthy. So he closed it down, and it reopened in 1992, and we've been operating ever since. California melted down in 2001. I don't know if any of you remember that, but they had an issue with deregulation and having their deregulation legislation manipulated by some of the big dog utilities in the country. Enron, Duke Energy, Southern Energy literally wrote the legislation for California and kind of positioned themselves to manipulate their market. This is not theory, this is not me being angry at those guys, this is actually what happened, documented. So because California was having these issues with availability, they started moving quickly into renewable energy. What California does, the rest of the West Coast does pretty immediately, and consequently the rest of the country does typically. So we started a renewable energy program to not satisfy our labor market, but to satisfy the California labor market. There's not very many colleges down there picked up the notion that they had to supply the workforce. We started a water conservation technician program. I'm going to get back to that in a second. We did resource conservation management, think sustainability coordinator. And we teach people how to do greenhouse gas counting, carbon sequestration. I was the cool things. Carbon counting, fostering sustainable behavior. I mean, all of the great things that go into, and doing energy audits, and all the great things that go into somebody that can, with a level of competence, come into your organizations and actually affect some change with regard to sustainability. We closed that program because the labor market for that was tailing off a little bit. We're all about jobs. We want our students to walk out of our place and walk right into a job. In its place, we picked up the building controls technician program. You would mostly find that in an HVAC kind of a technician program, and we do ours on steroids. We want our students to really know how to come into a building and produce change through the control systems. You're all familiar with the LEED certifications for new buildings. A lot of them don't meet their forecasted energy savings for one very simple reason, and that is people don't know how to control, don't know how to use the sophisticated control systems that are now, that are now going into these new buildings. And the disconnect is, we have these old dudes that are in the buildings that really know what's going on in the building and know pneumatic controls pretty well. Pneumatic controls are a pressure-based control system, and aren't really dialed into the computerized control technology, right? And so the guys that have the experience in the field don't really have the experience in the controls room. The guys that now are coming out of our four-year institutions that really know how to design control schemes don't know what they're controlling. They don't have that field experience. And so connecting the two is our effort. That's what we're trying to do with our new controls program. I'll show you a picture of our new building in just a second. It's a water conservation. I held off on this first, and I realize this is energy, all about energy and took on water conservation. If you know anything about the Northwest, what do you know? This is an open question to you.
Rains.
It rains like hell, right? Water conservation is very practical, very viable to do in the Northwest where our students are getting jobs in water conservation. The energy picture is solved, efficiency, renewables, natural gas, the amount of natural gas we have. We got our energy picture solved. Water is going to be considerably more difficult. It is the new energy. When we first started doing the program, when I first started doing the program in 1992, Clinton had just come in and it was all about energy efficiency and renewable energy for a limited period of time. But it was the big deal, and then Barack gets in there and with that intermittent piece of those other guys. Barack gets in there and it's back to energy again. This is where water is in my mind, in our minds, and I'm sure when you hear from Ellen, you'll see that she believes the same thing. Hopefully. So that's our 2-year degree program. Resource Conservation Manager is on hold for a while until that market can pick itself back up and we can start getting some students placed. The other 3 are really, really hot topics, and we expect a lot of production out of all of them. So our professional development side. This is how we generate income for our program. We go out, we step around our continuing ed department because remember the president said we could stay on campus if we earned our own income. So we developed our business plan and how we were going to do that. And that was, let's not charge regular fees for our continuing ed classes of $35 and $40. Let's charge something that will earn us revenue, but also develop a quality product. And so with these that I've listed here, these are really, really high quality products where there is actually outcome for the participant. So the Building Operator Certification is a national program that started out of Washington State through the Northwest Energy Efficiency Council that is now in 27 states around the country and doing quite well. The Energy Management Certification Program is something that we started because we had experience with other programs that professed that the outcome would be energy managers. And when we did a little under the hood checking, we found that, well, probably not to the degree that we think we would expect. And so we started our own program. It's interesting that one of the groups in Stephen's panel got up today and was talking about a 2-week boot camp. We started ours in 2000. It's a 2-week boot camp, and Ellen, you have a 2-week boot camp, and then we all seem to have 2-week boot camps. Ours is specifically in energy management, and it's specifically for practitioners across the board, whether they're residential, commercial, or industrial folks. Again, our program is specifically commercial energy efficiency. So we bring these guys in for 2 weeks and essentially give them the content that's in our 2-year degree program during that 2-week period, minus the math and the physics and all of the gen eds that they have to do. They spend a day per discipline topic. But then when they get done, they have to go back out into the field and get this. They have to implement an energy savings project. Put one on the ground. Actually do something. Not analyze, not produce a spreadsheet, not see what the incentives are. All of that goes into the project, but they actually have to do a project. And then they come back the following year and present their project to the class that's going through during that year. For this, if they are successful implementing a project, they get acknowledgement that they've been through our program, but they also get a return on their invested training dollar. I don't know that that's out there in many other places, but it's really a cool idea. And when people do a lighting project, which is pretty typical, they can save not only the amount of money that they invested in training, there is more profit available to them because lighting is pretty much a slam dunk. If you have older technology, you can save 50% easily on your lighting electric bill just by changing out from older technology to new stuff. And then we have LEDs that drop it down. So that's been great. For that, we charge $4,500. We put them up in a LEED Gold dorm. It's right next to our new building. We feed them, we entertain them to a minimal level. and they hang out with us for a couple of weeks. And then we support them similar to some of the projects that Steve has in terms of a lending library. We send them equipment if they need it. If they've forgotten every single thing that we taught them during the 2 weeks, we will go to where they are located and help them do an energy audit. No extra fee for that. That's covered in their $4,500 entry fee. So pretty good program. It's been going since 2011. And then the residential thing, I should have taken it off because that's been pretty much taken over by the Building Performance Institute and the certification that those guys offer. And somebody in the community next to us does quite a bit better job of that than we do. So. And then, of course, we do custom training and consultation. And in the state of Oregon, to do any solar installation, one has to have a license, which means one has to go through an apprenticeship program. And my program as a way to make sure that the apprenticeship program is running well, which it wasn't before we got involved, and also to generate a little bit of extra revenue. We manage the apprenticeship program for students, for people that are going through wanting to be solar practitioners. Wait. So I'm going to answer the question that was asked of the panel. It was the first question that was asked of the panel that Stephen was on, and that was, we have these community college programs where people are coming through, and if I could get this correct, how are those programs helping the institution? This is my interpretation of the question, to green up a little bit. When we do our commercial building energy management coursework, we use our campus as our laboratory. Just that simple. I have one classroom. I had one classroom. Now I have a whole 90,000 square foot building. But I had one classroom, and it was a computer lab, and that was it for my entire 2-year degree program. So how did we teach students stuff? We didn't use mock-ups that were attached to the walls or small refrigeration compressors and what have you. We go out into the buildings, and what I have listed here, is all of the opportunities that we have on our campus. We have 30 buildings on our main campus, and then a couple of buildings around the community, one of which we're in now. And all of these things are parts of those buildings that we can use. Community colleges were built typically, if they started during the community college boom, in the mid to late 60s. So the technology, unless you've torn your campus down and rebuilt a whole new campus, your technology is back to the 60s. And boy, does that stuff need a lot of help. And so we use our lab as we use our campus as our laboratories, and students are out from the day they come into our program working on a building or a couple of buildings that have been identified by our facilities department as problematic buildings. And so our students will go out and take a look at the HVAC system, they'll take a look at the building show, they'll take a look at the glazing, the glass, the kind of glass. And of course the campus knows all about these things, but we analyze it. We find out if they're running 24 hours a day and they shouldn't be. We find out if the lamps are left on when they shouldn't be. I mean, we take a look at this stuff through our coursework. And then we have a capstone class. We're on a quarter system, not semester. Pretty good. But our winter term is when we do our capstone class, and that is after students get all of the information that they need to have on how to conduct an audit. We go into one of the identified buildings on campus that's been identified by the facilities department and do an audit on that building and hand over a professional level report that they can take to the bank or to the board of trustees or to whomever they need to get money from to implement energy efficiency changes. So all of this stuff is really, really relevant to our program, and the one that we're having the most trouble with is the bottom. The one where people are involved. If we could tighten up our buildings and get them running effectively and then kick everybody out, we'd have a great operating building. We can't do that. So, in our water conservation program, here's some other things that we do. I had a student that came through the first cohort of our water conservation program. This really got turned on. This really liked the whole idea and went around and did an audit of all of this is 30 buildings, of all of the campus building restrooms, and measured the flow from the faucets in the men's and women's restrooms. And went to the local utility, and the flow was about 1.5 gallons a minute. Went to the local utility and got aerators that was just a simple twist on, twist off. Well, actually twist off, twist on. Replacement, and cut the flow down to 1/2 gallon. And that saved so many gallons of water, it's ridiculous. So I wish I had the number right. So, and then our renewable energy program we do installs around the campus, solar water heating and solar electricity at different years, different uses. So the bottom line is that you know, we're saving the college money. Our president was the chair of the AACC board, the American Association of Community College Board. She was the president 4 years ago. She created the Seed Center during her presidency, and she's very dialed into a green campus. And so, what we produce helps our campus, if they in fact implement our recommended strategies, helps them become just that much more green. Here's a picture of the building. It's a LEED Platinum building, that array that goes up the front. This array here is a evacuated tube water heating system. It provides 90% of the domestic hot water for both this building and a nearly full, probably 95% capacity year-round dormitory during the summer months and the shoulder months, and then during the winter it drops down to about 40 to 50%, just because of the thing that you know about Oregon, and that is it's cloudy and windy. One thing that's really important is, where are we? These are some characteristics of the building. I'm not going to belabor that. One thing that we have done, though, that is really cool, is that since we've been using our program, our infrastructure as our lab, the college said, well, wait a second now, I think something's going on here that we should pay attention to. And that is, we combine our academic program, you can see our classes here, sorry I'm not over there. Our academic classes here of controls technician, energy management technician, you know. So students will come to this website to see what sort of courses in energy efficiency, and then there's a sustainability coordinator program and so on. And water conservation. All of our sustainability course offering is done through this Institute of Sustainable Practices. Guess who we've partnered with? Facilities. It's a natural. We are now part of the facilities department, or they are part of the academic department. It just depends on your point of reference. And now we're working together as a division on campus. We used to be in science, and now we're here in the Institute of Sustainable Practices. And so our umbrella includes working with our sustainability coordinator, working with our energy analysts, working with our recycling coordinator. And so rather than me calling up and saying, hey, what building do you need us to look at? I look over the QB wall and say, hey, Jennifer, I need to do a building. What do you got? And this is the problem with that building. I want you to specifically look at this and look at that. It's a great marriage. We're overseen by the vice president of operations, brand new position on campus. He manages this department. So it's now not going through an immediate dean, an executive dean up to a vice president. It's, hey, Brian, we need this. So very exciting. So thank you very much. I'm one of those that has to leave in maybe 4:30. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
Roger, what has been the biggest area of pushback that you've had in terms, you've done all these things, but where have you encountered resistance and how have you dealt with it?
And one of the great things about being part of having people who are now from facilities sitting next to me is getting facilities to act, right? The facilities department, they're budget constrained, they're project constrained. We come in maybe 10th in line for getting things done. And so now our credits are a little bit higher because we're in this new division. And so it's mostly been getting them to act on our recommendations. Most of the time, our recommendations are no cost, low cost. An example, if I can. An example is when we first moved into the building that we just exited. This was like 12 years ago. We wanted to get students involved in the building and analyze the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system. So we do what's called data logging. So we take little monitoring systems, electronic systems, that gather operational data from motors and temperature and some other electrical devices that whatever it is that we need to measure. And we found that the system, the supply air handler, if I'm talking Greek here, I apologize, the supply air motor was coming on at 10 p.m. and going off at 7 a.m. Monday, coming on at 10 p.m. the next Tuesday, going off at 7 a.m. Wednesday, coming on at 10 p.m. Friday evening and going off 7 a.m. Monday morning. So, what was the problem? Speak up, Ray.
Nobody's in the building.
Nobody's in the building when we're providing heating and cooling and ventilation air, right? Nobody's in the building. And so it was again that issue where somebody was in charge of the control systems and slipped up. It's a simple go to the page that has the AM and PM, point and click kind of thing on it, and make that change. And they did. Students did the economic analysis. This maybe took 2 minutes for somebody to go in and do this. Did an economic analysis of the effect of that, just in changing the hours from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. start, 10 p.m. on. $11,000, one motor, right?
I was just going to say, this is not the first time that I've heard that where the AM and PM have been switched. And
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to quickly share an idea sitting here nodding away because I'm experiencing the same thing at Hillsborough Community College. And I really appreciate what you said. My question, of course, is, did you try to get any of these facilities managers into your building controls technicians program?
The building controls technician program is brand new.
Okay.
It's brand spanking new. But our new building, typically a 90,000 square foot building will have maybe 50 points of control. We have 250, and we designed that specifically for this new controls option that we're doing. And believe me, they have gone through my 2-week seminar. Right, they've gone through the 2-week boot camp, so they know what should be done, right? And they believe what should be done. Doing it, obviously, is a completely different story.
Yes, because definitely with Hillsborough Community College, we are a 48,000 enrollment, 1.7 million square foot under heated space, our pool space. And one of our biggest challenges was when in 2010 we created a climate action plan. One of the strongest recommendations was, just like what Roger said, all the heating and cooling was installed, put in place in 1960s. And existing when the college was built. And so we changed the whole structure back in 2010. When one of those stories very aggressively, I have to go because I have a response to David's question also that it's sometimes facilities managing people who are in charge of the technical matters. Sometimes it is the higher administration who is not getting it. What does sustainability mean in terms of economic bottom line? So that was, and what has happened in terms of the good story here is at the end of June 30th, 2013, the end of the fiscal year that we concluded, Hillsborough Community College has saved $527,000 today
Nice.
because of the retrofitting. But guess where our challenges are? People. We still have people. We have still 2 facilities managers that have been there, I think, since 1700s. And they just don't want to change. Guess what they have done in their case? Every system has an override and they'll just click. That's the part we're having to show.
Yeah, it's tough. It is tough. Thank you.
Okay, hello, good afternoon. My name is Ellen Cabot Lane. And Roger did a great job of highlighting the terrific stuff that he does at Lane. I'm going to kind of jump back to more of a national perspective and talk about the center that I have the opportunity to serve as executive director for. It's called ATEC, the Advanced Technology, Environmental, and Energy Center. And actually, we just celebrated our 20th year. And as I say that, I always like to add the caveat that I was just a mere child
Right.
when I became the PI for that particular center. But the concept back then is really the concept that we still have now, is there are pockets of excellence around the country. How do we gather those up so we can share them? So individuals who want to start new programs or enhance and improve their programs can do that with the minimal amount of effort. We also looked at many individuals that are in these fields. There are onesies and twosies at their college. There isn't a huge group of individuals with them to interact with at the college, so how can we kind of form a network so they can, if they have a question, they can reach out and get information so they can build a program. So that's really what ATEC was originally founded to do, and it's what we continue to do. Our original first grant was for $5 million, and I can remember our program officer saying, we want you to go out and ask for more money. So I initially turned right back to NSF and said, I need more money. We came up with this great concept of what we wanted to do, but I said, I'd like to have some money to do a critical issues conference to bring in people from all across the country to make sure as that we're good stewards of your money and we're doing what we need to do to advance the cause. So we had a critical issues conference, and one of the main things that came out of there was you're talking about environmental technology. What is that? Well, we didn't really know, because as we started asking people across the country, tell me about your environmental technology program, they were all different. So of course I went back to NSF and I said, geez, if I had just a little more money, I could probably bring everyone together and we could get some definition to that. And this is a concept we followed a lot in defining what the field is. And the reason I bring this up is because we can all have fantastic programs, but if you can't get people into them, it really doesn't make a difference. So these are roadmaps. So one of the things you can see, and if you go onto our site, all this stuff is free. We defined what environmental technology was. We also, because we're community colleges, we defined what the role of technician was. And then what are all the occupational categories that fall under that? Then what are all the occupational titles that fall under that? And then the broad job functions. And why I tell you this is we update this every 5 years. You have a student that thinks, I might want to go into the environment, but what would I do? This gives them some idea of what they could do, what they do in their job, and it's a great roadmap, a great marketing tool to get students into the program. So I bring that up to start with. So what do? We do professional development. You've kind of heard that talked about. Overall, we're really about program improvement. How can we give you tools and resources for you to improve your program? You can come to us, take a look at what we have to offer, what all different kinds of programs have to offer, then go back and tweak it to meet your specific needs for your local business and industry. We do curriculum design. One of the areas we're really focusing on, how many of you are familiar with the DACOM process? It's developing a curriculum. We have a cadre of instructional designers who will go into the colleges. We'll bring in expert workers in the field, and we do a task analysis process who talks about what it is that you have to be able to do to be successful in that job. You take those competencies and you make sure you integrate them throughout your curriculum. Therefore, it's almost like a checklist. So someone that graduates as an energy auditor, They have a checklist of 47 tasks or 47 competencies that they have to master, and we make sure that those are integrated into the program. Instructional materials development is something that we do, and we serve as an online resource clearinghouse. But as I talked about that environmental technology chart that we were putting together, about 10 or 12 years ago, we were actually working with MIT. They had gone to NSF and asked about how they could get some of their cutting-edge research that was sitting in a refereed journal somewhere into the classroom. And lo and behold, they were surprisingly told, you need to go talk to this woman at a community college in Iowa. Well, I got the call, and I'm kind of looking around thinking, who's punking me? Because I usually don't get calls from MIT. And the individual I was talking to, Jeff Steinfeld, he said, I'm sort of nervous about talking to you because I've never talked to anyone at a community college before. I'm like, well, let's just, dive into this thing. And anyway, we had an excellent rapport. They came and visited us, we visited them, and we had a long-term partnership with them. But one of the things that they kept telling us, and again, 10 or 12 years ago, is you need to really drill down into energy. You've got this environmental technology, but energy is going to be big. So what we did is exactly what we did in the defining environmental technology. We went ahead and we brought together business and industry, and we asked them, can you define the energy technology and services field? Can you define the technician level? What are the categories? What are the occupational titles? And what are the broad job functions? So now anyone that's interested in the energy area has, again, a roadmap that they can look at so they get a feeling of what's out there, what are the jobs, what are the things I'm going to do if I'm going to go in there. So we went ahead and did that, and NSF came back to us and said, we'd really like for someone, and it wasn't just NSF, it was some of the other federal agencies, said, we'd really like someone to go around and look at if there's differences regionally in our country. We've got funding money, but do I really need to have a wind technician program in the Southeast? Where's the best bang for our buck? Where should we put these dollars? Because there really wasn't Bureau of Labor Statistics information out there for them to look at. And we were viewed as sort of a neutral source to come up with this. So NSF funded us and asked us to go around, and we did a facilitated process at 7 different places. You can see in Portland, Los Angeles, Denver, Houston, Madison, Baltimore, and Tampa Bay, and pulled together what we called regional energy conversations. What this was is in each of those areas, we had business and industry that came and told us, what are the top jobs that are out there now and are going to be there in the next 5 years? What kind of programs are existing in your area? What are the certifications that you need? What are the skills and knowledge that you expect these kind of workers to have? And what are the emerging trends? And again, we pulled that information together as a very useful tool for individuals in those areas to have that as a starting place if they're looking at growing programs in their area. So again, to be a center for 20 years, you're pretty good at getting funding. So I went back to NSF and said, it'd be really nice to do a capstone national summit on what we've just done. And so we brought in business and industry, and it was really hard. We had lots of educators that wanted to be there, but we didn't allow hardly any there because we really wanted it to be a listening session. In many cases, I think educators like to talk, and they like to defend what they do, and we really, really wanted business and industry to sit and tell us what they needed. We didn't want them to hear us try to, we have that, we do that. We just really wanted them to come. So we had about 100 business and industry people that came to Washington, D.C. for a couple of days. We looked at energy in totality. So we had 4 different tracks. We had the traditional energy, fossil fuel tracks, we had transportation, we had renewables, and we had energy efficiency. And what they were supposed to do for us is to identify current and projected energy industry workforce needs, because we're really about jobs, as Roger said. We want to make sure that we're teaching students what they need to do to be successful in the workplace. And we have to make sure that those